My best curls, the curls I love the most, were about an hour south of Paris. And they would just pop in the most fantastic way. When I was in Seoul, my hair looked wet all the time, even though it was dry. And it was wavy, barely any curl. It looked like I was in a pool all the time.
You're gonna have different hair in different climates. It's almost by latitude almost. You have to kind of go, what is the mix and what's the right thing? The challenge is that the beauty industry globally has not been particularly mindful of essentially people of color in terms of development of products. Every story started out with what you have to do is. So what you have to do is you have to get this thing, but then if you can't find that thing, you have to get this other thing. And then you have to take it and you have to put it in plastic and then you have to wrap it around.
That's Orion Brown. She's the founder of Black Travel Box, and she built an entire product line because when she landed in Okinawa, Japan with perfect curls, she walked off the plane looking, in her words, feral. She's a former brand manager at Kraft and Oracle. And today she's going to tell you the full story, from being rejected by manufacturers who said they don't make products for her hair type, to building the brand herself, to what she discovered about joy and body neutrality at Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago, West Indies. I'm Eliane Aldine, and this is Cultures, where we explore how growing up across cultures, countries, and identities shapes who you become. Let's begin. So tell us about Black Travel Box.
So Black Travel Box is a personal care products company really focused on Black travelers and the Black travel experience. We make hair and skincare products that travel well, get through TSA, but they're made to be inclusive. So they work for a wide variety of hair textures and skin tones. When I don't have my little pony going, I have a lot of curly hair. And I just really discovered that every time I would travel, it would be such a pain in the butt to find products that actually worked for me. And I felt like that was just a real miss in the marketplace. So I decided to build something myself.
What you just said is so important because I've been to so many places and my hair is different in every single climate that I'm in. Yes. So as you can see, I don't do the curls anymore. My new hairdresser is all about the blowout of the hair. However, my best curls, the curls I love the most, were about an hour south of Paris. And they would just pop in the most fantastic way. When I was in Seoul, my hair looked wet all the time, even though it was dry. And it was wavy, barely any curl. It looked like I was in a pool all the time. Right? When I would go to Mexico, different places in Mexico. So it's really interesting, as you say, especially Kenya. I remember I really had to scour for products and try to figure out, okay, which gel is going to work, this and that. And then you have to test it, buy a few. Okay, that didn't work. All right, I look okay here. But I would always buy local products because I thought they would do better for my hair locally. So I would love to hear your position on that. And I think it's great to have something that is universal because of these reasons. So is that part of what is special about your products?
Yeah, I mean, so the funny thing is like you said, you're going to have different hair in different climates. It's almost by latitude almost. You have to kind of go, what is the mix and what's the right thing? The challenge is that the beauty industry globally has not been particularly mindful of essentially people of color in terms of development of products. Now, there's always those situations where you're in Asia and you're everybody has bone straight hair, period. And that is going to be a different situation in general. But when you go to other places, even in Africa and Kenya, I couldn't find products that either were clean enough or actually even thought of me. They were either very Eurocentric or just, old school blue magic.
Shockingly Eurocentric.
Yes. Shockingly, but then also not so shocked. Yes. And so that's the thing. It's just really understanding that when I started to talk to travelers and say, what are you guys packing? I started to get every story started out with what you have to do is. So what you have to do is you have to get this thing, but then if you can't find that thing, you have to get this other thing. And then you have to take it and you have to put it in plastic and then you have to wrap it around, but you take the top off and then you put it back on. That's how you keep it from melting. That's how you keep it from spilling. And then you have to do this. And then to make it stretch, I'll go and get a tut-tut and go to a grocery store and get grapeseed oil. And there's just all of these things that we're doing to try to solve for a consumer problem that should just be solved for in the store.
Right,
and so as I'm building out the formulas and as I'm building out the product line, I'm continuing to go from just like the basic stuff that's like, I can't stand the hotel lotion to, all right, what does this look like in terms of hair care and skincare regimens? And what does that look like in the many facets of people that travel and particularly Black people that travel and start to really build from there. So hopefully we will get to a place, and the plan is to get to a place where no matter what longitude or latitude you're at, you'll have the right kit for you and we'll help you along that journey.
Wow. So you talk about the kits. Tell us a little bit, like what different kits do you have and what needs do they fit?
Yeah, right now we're still very much at our core and our early product set. So we have what's called our starter kit. It has shampoo and conditioner in solid form. So these bars are essentially the equivalent to 4 of the bottles that you'll get in a hotel room per night. And the beautiful thing about those is you're not schlepping water, right? So you're not going...
It's TSA friendly.
So you're not schlepping water. It's TSA friendly. There's no fights at TSA. It's solid. They can't say nothing. There's no spills.
That's a cream. That's not a cream. No.
Is it a cream? Is it a paste? When we got to paste, I had to take a step back and pray because I was like, I can't talk to this person anymore. But those are the types of challenges, right? And when we look at particularly Black women, we buy more because we spend 9 times more on beauty and personal care than anybody.
And hair care. And I guess that's what you mean by beauty.
It's inclusive of that. Yes. And so we over-index because we buy more because we use more. And so even just making something in a smaller bottle doesn't get you there. You need to have that concentrate so that you can take more product with you and you're not running out. So our starter kit has these concentrated bars. We also have our body balm. So if you know you have beautiful brown skin, you ever put on the lotion in a hotel room and it's like it actually deposits ash.
Yes.
You're like, I'm trying to get rid of the ash, but the ash has now been deposited.
Yes.
And that's because of the ingredients that are used. And it's, you know, it's cheap and nobody likes hotel lotion, but it's particularly a functional difference when it comes to people of color because of how it dries on the skin and how it kind of looks. And so making sure that we had a product that addressed that. We also have a hair balm, which is like a basic pomade. And I love it because it's like the all-in-one, no matter if you wear braids and locks when you travel, no matter if you wear your hair natural and do a wash and go, or if you do a blowout, the pomade actually helps for all of those things.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes, because it gives you a little light shaping. So for a blowout like yours, you warm it up in the hands and kind of give you know, when you get your blowout, you're like, I'm cute, but I'm going to be really cute once it's about a day.
Yes.
2 in, it gives you day 2 blowout.
Okay.
It gives you day 2 blowout on day 1.
Yes.
And then for curls and things like that, you're able to seal in the moisture. So whether you do the lock method or the, you know, do however many, you know, different variants of it, it's going to be the O in the lock method.
I am so excited to hear that. I can't wait to try that because I'm day 1 of the blowout. Yeah. I thought to myself, why didn't I do this earlier? And getting product to get my hair to stay where I would like it to stay.
Yes.
I don't even try.
Without it being hard.
Yes.
Because that's the other thing. Like you don't want to go too waxy because you don't want to be washing every few days, especially when you have the blowout. You want to like kind of let that preserve a little bit. But the other thing is I discovered as I was talking to people, especially Black women, they were like, I don't wash my hair when I travel because I don't have the products that I need. And so there's kind of a twofold thing here. I want to encourage more washing, but that's not always practical. The hair balm is really nourishing for the scalp because when your scalp gets dry, when it's not properly nourished, that's when you start losing edges, not just from tension. You have a higher probability of you losing it from tension, but it's just not really good for you. So it's really important to have the scalp health in place, if nothing else.
Well, yes, I was about to say that. I mean, I think people are just starting to be aware that scalp health means length. Yes. It means, you know, retention, growth, all the things.
Strength.
If you want good hair, you have to have a good scalp.
Healthy hair comes from a healthy scalp.
Yes. Yes, I shouldn't say good hair. That means a whole different thing. If you want healthy hair, okay.
Healthy hair comes from a healthy scalp, yes.
Well, you talked about the formulation and how this balm is nourishing. How do you get to that? Like, tell us the process from idea. So you spoke with all these people, what happened that gave you the spark that you wanted to do this?
Yeah.
And then the process, you already gave us a little bit of insight, and down the line to how it's formulated, and then how you market it.
Oh my gosh. It was a labor of love. My background is in corporate brand. And so I used to do this in the food industry. So I probably took the longer way traveled just based off of knowing the amount of development that typically goes into new products coming to market. And I really wanted to make something for us that was really special and well thought out. Mm-hmm. And so I took maybe the first year of being in business. I'll put air quotes around that. Like, the government knew my name. I had a name for the company, but I hadn't developed anything yet. And I really took that time to talk to consumers and do the focus groups, started with friends, those poor people. And they were like, I just wanted to have lunch with you. And I'm like, that's wonderful. So what's in your travel bag? But going through that process and interviewing people, doing mass surveys, I even did a mass diff study, so a little statistical analysis to understand what products are most important, most polarizing, what people really wanted. Pull that aside and then say, okay, now I know what products to focus on. And I wanted to focus on sort of the most polarizing products, which are really the products that you see in the hotel and you laugh at and throw that in the trash and keep it pushing, right? And lay your own products out. So I started with those, and the development process was an interesting one because initially, how it's supposed to work in the world is you go to a manufacturer that works with whatever size business you are. You can be idea stage all the way to multi-billion dollars. There is a manufacturer. There are many manufacturers. Mm-hmm. And you talk, you brief them. They tell you how much it's going to cost, what your formula is going to cost, and you do business. This was pre-COVID, pre-George Floyd.
Okay.
I was having conversations with people where they flat out put in writing, we don't make products for Afro kinky hair. And I was like, we don't call it afros anymore, but thank you. Appreciate it. That one was, I actually posted that to Twitter after I said, you shouldn't have put it in writing. You should have just been out of sorts by phone. And
was that a U.S. company?
Yes.
Okay.
I went to all U.S. companies. I probably spoke to a few dozen, and it was very clear that many of them did not, once they kind of understood what the brand was, they didn't want to play. And so that was serendipitous because it forced me to sit down and do formulation. And I have a science background. Like, I liked OChem, but I also realized that when you're making products that are, that don't have all of the chemicals and they're pretty natural, it's not rocket science. This is a low barrier to entry market. That's why there are so many people dabbling and starting to build out their product lines. And that's fine. That's wonderful. We're all differentiating by brand and what we're here for. And so I started to formulate, and that really led to products that are truly unique in the marketplace. So you don't see shampoo bars. Now, I mean, it's been 5 years.
A little bit, but they're still not ubiquous.
Yes, and you definitely don't see conditioner bars, and you definitely don't see them in the ethnic aisle. And so this is where we're formulating products that are really truly made for out-of-home use, and that's not the thing that you go to a manufacturer and just say, "Hey, go white label this for me, slap my brand on your thing, throw some aloe in it, and call it a day." Right. So that was the manufacturing process, and so I started to really develop out. Self-manufacture, got warehouse space, and started to buy tanks from breweries and things like that, just to figure out what that should look like. And we still do that today. And then, as a solopreneur, I was the butcher, baker, and candlestick maker. So I was the developer on my site, Shopify. Shout out to Shopify for having easy sites to build. And just really started to.
I did not think Shopify was easy. I did not even try to build our site. I looked at that thing that looked difficult. But anyway, go ahead. So shout out to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that I kind of teetered that line of I could do this myself, and maybe I shouldn't do this myself. And you just learn. You learn, right? There's some things I tried and I said, ooh, oh no, we need a contractor for that. Yes. And I mean, even the design of my packaging is gorgeous. And I had a lot of say in it, but I also found an amazing designer in Mexico through Upwork. And we worked together and developed out the brand identity and the packaging and all of that stuff. Nice. So I've pulled in people to really help really on a project basis to help develop everything out. So, and that's how we ended up here.
So, OChem, organic chemistry. Wow. First of all, who knew? What's your educational background?
It's eclectic. So my educational background is fairly eclectic. I went to University of Chicago undergrad. I like to say that I was pre-med since the age of 4 because I was like hardcore. Like I was looking through my mom's nursery book, not nursing books, and I'd be like, ooh, look at that hemorrhage. That's awesome. Oh, that's his intestines just outside of his body. That's so cool. So that was like, I guess there was a morbid curiosity, but I was really, really into and very hardcore. I am going to med school. I am going to go be a surgeon, do these things. I got to college and life just lifed. And I was like, I need to pivot a little bit. And so I was a double major. So I was doing like biopsych and pre-med, but then I was also in psychology and human development. And so that was what I really ended my degree in. I ran a psych lab and did a thesis and all of that good stuff. I don't know if it was a thesis. It wasn't like something I had to defend, but I did a paper. And I just wanted something I could say I accomplished something while I was here because I definitely changed directions. So it was like, give me some paper besides the diploma to say that, I learned something.
That is so interesting. Well, it's interesting. I was pre-med microbiology.
Okay.
And I had done that since 8th grade. I was absolutely certain. My grandmother was a nurse. It's interesting. It's really interesting how these influences in our lives make such a difference with the choices we make as we grow up, right? So so I find it interesting that we both started there and we're both in somewhat the beauty travel industry. It's like, how did you get here?
Oh my gosh. So I left school, not a pre-med student, now a psych major, and no transferable skills that I knew of. Because I didn't know, at that age, you don't know transferable skills. You don't know what they are.
Right.
And so for me, I was like, I need to go get a real job. I don't know what that looks like. The most time I've spent in an office building is if I want to go to the bathroom when I'm downtown, it's like, I'm not going to McDonald's. That's sketchy. I'm going to the office building. They have air conditioning. That's what I'm going to do. And so for me, I really looked for programs that were going to allow me to learn how to be an adult. And so I looked for management training programs and things like that. And I actually ended up landing at one in JP Morgan. And so it was internal consulting, project management, process improvement type stuff. And it really allowed me, I went to all areas of the bank as a consultant. And it allowed me to, one, mature as a person and figure out like, what is this business space? But two, it actually taught me what transferable skills are. Because I had to move from business to business, it was inherent that I had to figure out what I knew from the last thing that would be relevant to the next thing. And so that was a really great experience for me. I was there for about 4 or 5 years. And then I was like, this is a fun time in the 2008 era of being in banking. Maybe I should go to school. It was great timing. I went to Duke and I was a big career changer. So I went into Duke with the objective of, actually, I thought I was going to come out and be either a consultant or a banker because I was in bank consulting. And, you start doing the math on that check and how many hours they're spending. And it just was, I remember talking to a woman who said, you can totally have it all. You can totally have balance. I get to tuck my daughter in twice a week. And sometimes I will go, because it's only like a 20-minute walk. I will go from my office and walk to her school and like see her during her playground time. And she was dead serious.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, she gonna need therapy.
She gets older.
But you have the money for it, right?
Oh, wow.
But that's the thing. Like, that's the trade-off in life. The money is great, but then what do you have to spend that on to make up for the fact that that's all you got? Right. And so for me, I was like, okay, I need to do something different. I want to do something strategic, and I kind of want to be bossy. So what does that look like? Brand marketing, brand management was really the place that made sense for me, where you're, hub and spoke model. You're kind of the CEO of your brand within a company. So you're an entrepreneur. And I just really loved it. I did a summer at Nestle didn't really love that. But I did. I was going to.
Wait, hold on. That's one of our people, Nestle. Okay. We love you, Nestle. Go ahead.
I did a summer internship. I was in LA. It was not the right culture for me. And so when I came back to school, I ended up going to craft, and it was perfect fit, like a glove. And that is where I started my career in brand.
So what was the difference between what made craft a perfect fit for you?
Craft, and it's we all have our heydays, right?
Yeah.
We used to look at our parents and be like, why are y'all talking about the 70s? We don't care. For me, my time, the heady days, and I'm not talking Wolf of Wall Street heady, but the heady days early on in craft was very much, I worked with some of the most intelligent, sharp, creative, passionate people that I'd ever been around. They had their heads on straight, and it was just really, we talked a lot about not only the what, but the how. So yes, you're hitting your numbers. Yes, you're launching new businesses and new brands, but how are you doing that? And that was a balance that we really, really focused on. There was very little drama, very little
backbiting political stuff.
Yes, it was, I had no idea how good it was until I left. And so it was one of those things that it was a really beautiful time. And not only that, when I came in, I really believe you get connected to the right people at the right time for the right reason. Yes, I remember sitting in front of my first manager, and he was like, here's the deal. You do your work. I'll give you opportunities. They're going to ask you to go to happy hour and all these other things. I don't care. You won't get extra points with me doing that. You won't get knocked for doing that. You can do whatever you want to as long as you do your work. And I was like, did he just say this out loud? And he wasn't kidding. It was great because he was like, they're going to have, there's going to be pressure to be social and do these things and go to happy hour. Now, mind you, I did still go to happy hour, but it was karaoke. I couldn't say no to karaoke. But he was just like, I want you to know that you are not here to impress people or to be somebody other than you are. Wow. Do the things that I need you to do, and we'll be good.
And be good. Be excellent at what you do. Make me look good.
Exactly.
Which is what I think a lot of people don't realize. That's their actual job. Your job is to make your boss look good every step of the way.
Yes.
Right? And it's so lovely that he gave you the space to do that, because I think a lot of corporations, they hire you for who you are, whatever the sparkle, the bubble, all the things, the intelligence that comes with it, but then try to shift who that person is. And then if the sparkle or the bubble or the intelligence changes a bit, because it has to, because you've now changed as a person. Yeah. They're like, who are you? Wait, this is not what we wanted. Well, you can't get what you asked for and who I am at the same time.
Well, only if what you ask for is actually what you want, and the who I am that I'm presenting is the actual me. I think that those things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. I think the problem is we've been taught to play the game of show up and tell them what they want to hear and get the job, get the offer, right? And then they show up and say, this is what we're all about. And that's not what's really happening behind the scenes.
I get that. And I agree with that. But I think a lot of times there are people who show up as their authentic selves. Yes. Right? And that is what we want this. But we want it in this shape.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. It's the, I really like him. I can't wait to mold him.
Yes.
And it's just really seriously,
and that molding changes the person. Yeah. And now it's no longer the him that you expected him to be, because he's no longer
It's franking
authentic.
him.
Yeah,
it's
franking him. I love it.
Yeah.
It's franking him. So that is fantastic. And I'm so glad that you had that experience, because, and I love, actually your career is much like mine as well. I mean, the twists and the turns make a difference. And they change how you're able to bring the tools to entrepreneurship. If Orion's story is hitting close to home, if you've been masking at work in rooms that weren't built for you, performing a version of yourself that was easier for other people to digest, well, I want you to have something. It's called the Unmasking Audit. It's a free workbook that helps you see exactly where you've been hiding, what it's costing you, and how to start showing up as the full version of who you actually are. Download it free at the link in the description, because you deserve to build something that's actually yours. So, how did you jump from that to wanting to start your own thing?
Oh my gosh. Well, there was a pretty big gap. When I left craft, it was me and 2,500 of my compatriots asked to politely leave. We had a hostile takeover. Yeah, it was fun. Corporate life is great until it isn't, right? Yeah. And so, but I went to Cuba. I had a great time. I was fine. I had my package and I had, this moment of take a breather, use travel as your self-care, as I've always used travel as my self-care, and just go be free for a moment. And so I had an amazing trip to Cuba. I came back and I said, you want to work because you've been told your job is to work and to be productive at all times.
Okay.
And
wait, who told you that?
Life and expectation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It was the, oh, you got a package, so you need to go ahead and get you another job so you can put away that money. And I'm like, I don't want to be like overly like, toxic positivity kind of thing. But there is something to be said for that's a scarcity mindset, right? Like, why don't I enjoy these funds and use this as an opportunity to go on sabbatical? I mean, how often do you hear, at least I never heard in my community, people going on sabbatical? You went on sabbatical if you were a teacher and it was called spring break. Like that was it, And so I had 6 months of severance. So I was like, you have 3. I'm going to negotiate with myself because I also get bored. So you have 3 to just do you. I dyed my hair purple because I knew I would not sit in front of somebody and try to, with a straight face, get a job if my hair was purple. And I knew how long it was going to take to come out. Okay. So I was like, that's how I did all my pictures from that era, various purples. And so that led me, once I was kind of done with that space, that led me to move into a different industry. So I went from food into media and entertainment and actually ended up in Colorado, from Chicago to Colorado, and worked for a company that made mobile games. And this was taking all my skill set as a brand manager and helping them understand how to apply that within a space that they were, kind of in their garage, and they made some really cool games and they got bought, and they were like, I don't know what these people are telling me to do. I don't know how to develop to their expectations. And so that kind of took me in a different direction. I went into, a tech role after that. And it, you take those steps career-wise as they make sense. That's how you're able to
build that website. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
There was no web building involved, I promise. But you know what I will say is, again, I think everything happens in time and at a time for a reason, because at, the mobile gaming studio, I sat next to a person who was buying ads. I had never seen a person buy an ad before. I had assumed that there was like a purchase order. So, okay, so this is the bougie part. I had an agency for that. And then the agency had a person who did it. So I had no idea how ads were purchased or how to interact with Facebook, which is now Meta, right? And how to interact with their platforms and things. And so through that experience, I was right next to the person that was doing it and got a lot of like, oh, you just put a credit card on that? Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That kind of thing. When I got to Oracle, I was working with a number of Fortune 100 companies to help them understand their consumer insights. But at the same time, I was embedded in a business that was focused on ads targeting. And I didn't know anything about audiences and building audiences and that kind of thing. And so that was a great experience for me. I could take what I knew really well, which is analytics and consumer journey and telling stories. But then at the same time, I'm learning about some really core key things that are really important for an entrepreneur to understand, especially when they're doing paid marketing.
Indeed. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So took the break.
Yes.
But then after, you did some other things. You did the gaming, you did the Oracle thing. And then when did Black Travel Box happen?
That's exactly when Black Travel Box happened, because now I'm two career moves later and I haven't touched a physical product. And I really, really missed making a thing, creating a thing, anchoring a thing in a consumer insight, and then like building from there. That was also in tandem. Yeah.
I get that.
It's so fun to see your baby out in the world.
And just as a sidebar, not to interrupt you, with cultures, people there, you have so many things, but that was part of it that I decided, I love the making of the product, the packaging, all the things that come with it. And decided, this is for me. This is for me, and we'll figure out how it helps our audience. But anyway, I just wanted to really point out that that's important. Yeah. That's a form of self-care. That what makes you tick, what you like, you miss this part. And the better you show up, the better you could show up for your audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I love that. Okay. So back to the product development.
And I just love what you said, because I tell people all the time, especially when I'm doing vending events, and they're like, how did you come up with this? And I'm like, this was all for me. I just hope you like it.
It's so true. I can't believe we said it out loud.
But it's true. I mean, don't get me wrong. I always am getting consumer feedback and getting ideas.
Yes.
But everything that I birth is a part of me, is a part in that, right?
And there's something to be said for, there's people who are disjointed to who their populations are, and they like something. I just did this because I want to, and it may not work, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're so tied in to who your end consumer is, there's a good chance that what you like is what they're going to like, right? You still do the research. You still have to make sure that it works. But I have found that a lot of things that I want end up being things that they like as well, which is a bonus, because you don't want them to not like it.
Well, and we're also in a really unique time for entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
At the turn, I was going to say the turn of the century. The turn of the century was 20 years ago. The turn of the other century. In the 1900s, turn of the century. If you had your Model T or your Elixir or whatever it might be, you had to find an audience nearby that actually wanted that. So the people that surrounded you, you really had to have a product that met their needs.
Right.
Now you have access to internet, you have AI-driven ads, you have a lot of opportunity, TikTok and all of these different things that you can surgically find people. So, Donnie's sitting right in front of me and I'm like, that's all well and good, but I want Bob right behind you.
Right.
Because that's the person that I know is going to like this. And so even in the situation of, I hate to say, you make something and people are like, if you like it, somebody else likes it. And you can probably find like 1,000 somebodies like you if you know what makes you tick and what makes that thing work for you.
And that's what I'm saying about the audience, really understanding the audience. And when you're part of that audience, developing for yourself, which in turn developed for them.
Yes.
Right? So fantastic. Absolutely love it. All right. So now you are back to developing the tangible products.
Yes.
And
so the impetus from like the brand story perspective. So this was the career story, right? The career story was I was in tech, got tired of tech bros, really missed having my hands in. That's a whole separate story. Got tired of tech bro culture, and at the same time really missed having my hands in a physical product. On sort of the brand side, I went on a trip to Japan and I had the curls ready to go, right? So I had the wash and go ready to go. I knew exactly how long it was going to last. I had exactly the amount of product that I need. So it was like day 1 curls, day 3. Okay, now it's time to make it a bun. Okay, now it needs to really be washed. We got to start over. And then that would take me through this, I think it was about an 11-day trip. So I go to Tokyo and it's beautiful. It's springtime, cherry blossom season, very mild, very sunny. I am fabulous. I am popping. Everything is wonderful. Decide to hop over to Okinawa because, I'm just a globe trotter. I'm just out here doing stuff without planning it. 45-minute flight, maybe. We get in and they open the airplane hatch, the door, and just the armpit of Hades just blew through. It was so, when you talk about your hair doing different things in different places, I straight up looked like Shona from The Last Shogun. My hair, for folks who are a little bit younger, y'all won't know, but I looked crazy. My hair immediately, I could feel it crawling up the back of my neck. I said, oh no. By the time we got off the plane, I looked wild.
What time of year was it? Well, you said it was springtime. What month was it?
May. Yeah, I looked feral getting off the plane. And I was like, no, I just get this little thing of conditioner. I'm like, what am I going to do? It's okay. We're in Okinawa. Okinawa has tons of American bases and we're there visiting friends who are in the Army. There's tons of Black women that actually serve there in Okinawa. I'm sure we're going to go to commissary. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'll probably buy a big bottle of something that I'll have to leave here, but it's fine. I got it. Cool.
It wasn't fun.
Nothing. Plus 3-in-1 everywhere.
What were the people there doing? What were the women there doing?
Bringing their own stuff, having people ship it to them.
Wow.
I found this out later when I actually started the brand, and I started to get notes from women in the Army saying, I heard you, doing a pitch and you talked about this. I am actually stationed there. I can't get stuff. Do you ship APO? I have Black women ask me all the time, do you ship APO?
Wow.
All over the globe.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. You would that's fantastic.
You would think.
Yes.
But this is where we go back to Kenya and all these other places. But let's just also talk about, like, if don't be a consultant and get shipped to Iowa for something. You just ask out. You just ask out. Like, there's nothing you can do.
Yes.
Unless you're in a major city. Like, companies like Target have been doing a great job of diversifying their aisles. But that's just happened in the last 7-8 years.
Yes.
And even with that, the name of the game is always they're going to stock what their populace around them wants. And the problem of being a minority, and especially in places where you're not at the, you're not 15, 20% of the population or 40% of the population, you start getting to like 5, 10% of the population, nobody's buying products for you because you don't turn enough product for them.
Right.
And so this is where having access to products, this is a direct-to-consumer business, having access to it wherever you go and wherever you live is really, really important.
Wow. Okay. So you decided to do this thing?
I just did a little thing.
You did the product development. You figured out the formulations.
Mm-hmm.
You went and worked with someone on branding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell us about your launch.
Okay, so what happened was...
what happened?
What had happened was 2019, I am now at the place of, I know what the products are going to be. I've had some issues with getting the manufacturing, but I have formulations that I've developed myself. I've had them tested with formulators. They're all good. And I'm now pitching for funding because I'm not going to do this by myself. Like, we need a team. I need an operations person. I need a marketing person. And so I started pitching for funding. Did not realize that we don't really get funded. It didn't occur to me. I thought it was meritocracy. I thought entrepreneurship was meritocracy. I was listening to a lot of Gary Vee, and God bless him. He has some good thoughts, but he also moves through the world in a way that there is privilege attached to him, whether he realizes it or not.
I was just with him at the Lions last year, and actually I will see him in a few weeks. I will have to pass that information on. That's a really good way to think of it, because for me, listening to him talk, there's something missing. And that 100% was it. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that he doesn't have great insights and things like that. Yes,
and great tactics.
Yes,
The hard work ethic piece I get, and you don't have to tell a Black woman how to work hard, but giving us some tangible ways to do that. But there is that gap, right? So I would come into rooms and people would tell me, everyone else here is pitching their idea, but you need to pitch yourself for the first 2 minutes.
People told you that?
Yes.
And why was this?
Because no one's going to listen. No one's going to listen.
Because they need to know your expertise so they know they can trust you.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And, I had to talk to myself. I had to say, self, how do we feel about this? Because there's the things that you do to get by and get through. Mm-hmm. And then there's the things you do to be authentic. Okay. And I think for me, I was like, why are you an entrepreneur if you're doing the same masking that you were doing in corporate?
Yeah.
Where you had to, and yes, there's a practicality to it. And I understand that. And the people that told me that were trying to help. Mm-hmm. And they were not wrong.
Yes.
And, but I also found even once people knew the pedigree, I would still get the pat on the head. You sound like you know what you're talking about. Oh, wow. And the use of the word sound in multiple places.
They actually said those words.
In multiple times. The impact of that experience was tantamount to gaslighting. It was very, very hard for a while for me to kind of rewrap my head around, what, you kind of know what you're doing.
Right.
You may not have been an entrepreneur before, and there's stuff like in terms of the grassroots level that you have to learn to do, like building funnels and things like that.
Right.
But you understand brand, you understand consumers, you understand product development, and you understand how markets work. So all the things that you need at an idea stage to get funding, you have.
Mm-hmm.
there's just a lack of tact in knowing how to say no amongst the people that you're asking. And you're also asking some of the wrong people.
Well, here's the beauty of those people and the information they gave you. I mean, I think there's a beauty in that they gave you an insight to what's inside the head, the stuff that people usually, they give you dog whistle words that, they think you don't understand or whatever.
Oh, I got those too. Yeah. No, I got all of them.
But I'm saying the ones who actually gave you the words, there's a beauty in that because you got an insight to what they really think. This is how it really goes down. That's great and terrible all at once. All at once. It's something. Wow. So that brings us to today. You and I have talked about the pitching thing too. There's so many, and now there's those lawsuits that you can't have these funds specifically for people of color, for Black people or whatever, right? as if, as you mentioned, the Gary Vee thing, as if it's a level playing field and not everyone gets the comments you got. Oh, you can't just pitch. You have to pitch yourself first. Oh, you sound like you know what you're talking about. Yeah. Just those experiences alone show that the playing field cannot be level, right? And the opportunities are not there. So there's all these funds and grants and incubators, opportunities. However, what are your thoughts on all the ubiquity of all of those things and how they help?
I think they are helpful. I think the first thing, and let's just run this back really quickly. So I'm a Black woman coming into rooms knowing that there's a conversation that's happening in people's heads that is not happening in the room. There's been studies, just not even looking at race, looking at gender. When men walk into rooms and pitch, they are asked, how big, how high, how far can you fly? When women walk into rooms, we are asked, what are you going to do if you fail? And when you fail? And how are you going to mitigate the risk? And that is the crux of implicit bias. I see you and I immediately feel like this is really risky and I'm uncertain. I see someone else and I feel like this is going to be the next big thing and I'm excited. And so there's, intersectionality that comes into play at just major levels. Now that we have, and I don't want to say now, but we've seen an explosion in grants for women and things like that over, I would say, the last 5 to 10 years. And then we've seen a lot more for women of color and people of color, especially since George Floyd. Which that has subsided a little bit. It's a really interesting time in the world. When you say, what do you think about all of these programs? That's not that many programs. True. So the all isn't necessarily, I'll put it this way. The programs are prolific. There's a lot of programs. It's not a lot of money. There's not a lot of money going out. Right. So if you look at the trillions of dollars that are getting invested into businesses across, debt, equity, loans, investment, angel, VC, all these funds, these grants, these accelerators, they're great opportunities and they're really helping people to step into spaces that they maybe didn't know how to navigate before and get early funding. But most of these checks, not everybody is Y Combinator, and Y Combinator isn't looking for everybody, right? So Y Combinator and the big accelerators, $100,000, $200,000, $500 for some of them. Most of this stuff is like $5K. Right. And
a lot of work for that $5K.
A lot of work. You need to be here for 12 weeks, 3 hours twice a week, plus office hours. If you don't show your face, we're going to ding you. And, I understand their need to say we have participation from you. But by the same token, that's a whole nother job. And many of us continue to work full-time jobs while we build our business. So now we're working our full-time job. We're building our business second full-time. Because people go, oh, you're doing it part-time. No, I just don't sleep. And so let's just call it what it is, right? Yeah. Oftentimes you do your 9 to 5 and then you do your 5 to 11, and building off of that. Now you're putting in these additional constraints. for money that really gets honestly blown really quickly on a social media person. Like that's a social media person for a month.
Right.
You know, or ads for 2 weeks.
Well, and there's the thing. So I get it. There's a lot of people who say this is a population that doesn't have the opportunities that say you and I had, or the experience or the education. So let's make sure that they have that. But that's also, like you said, a little bit indicative of, oh, you sound like you know what you're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So make that available for people who may need it. And I'm sure they will be ecstatic to have it. But then the people who don't need it, who already have it, if you have an MBA,
they tap it too.
What do you say?
I said they tap it too.
But that's what I'm trying to say. If you already have that experience, why would you have to sit in those classes all that time? And some of these funds, as far as I know, that is actually what you're getting out of this application that you did. And all of the people who applied now there's one award at the end, and we're going to watch you. And now you have to pitch for that one award. You didn't even know. It's like when I applied for this, I thought it was an application to get the award. No, it's an application to go through the program and then
and you
pitch
don't get
for the award.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I love my brand and I love my business and I believe we need to exist in the world. But when you lump all women together, or all Black people together, then I'm pitching against people who are like solving cancer. And I'm on stage like, you want me to talk about, no, just give them the money. Like we should all just step aside and fund them. I have pitched next to companies that are solving infertility, cancer, allergies, all of these things that are like health related. And I mean, that's a bias for me of, if you're going to save lives, I think you might be a little bit better than some body butter. Right. You might be, I can go the extra step and figure this out. You need that. And I think that's another issue is people think, well, there's all these programs, there's all this opportunity, but there's no nuance to how these programs are set up. So to your point, you've got people who are further along who just need funding and maybe some guidance at a strategic level. And then there's people who are like, I have this amazing IP. I have this amazing idea. I've developed a thing and I have no idea about the business part and I need some money. And then you've got within that, all of the plethora of types of products. And why, if you're on stage next to a SaaS product, for instance, you're a physical products company next to a SaaS product company. SaaS just makes more sense if the goal is making money. Right?
Right.
Because SaaS is you pay for the widget once and then you restamp it. There is no widget. There is no widget. There is a guy in Bangalore who did all of your coding. You know what I mean? Let's just be honest, right? You got him way, way below your market value in the States. And he's coded the thing. And you're like, well, we'll make our first $1 billion before anybody notices that this company sucks. This is why we have devaluations happening all the time. Because it's like, okay, get users on your platform. This is a great idea and it's really easy. It doesn't require a lot of money to go into it, but we're going to put a bunch into it because we know once you get the users, that return is going to be insane.
Right.
Yeah, but daily active users is great. Keeping people and retaining them is a whole different animal. Physical products, I have to pay for my stuff before the first person buys it.
Yep.
And that is a very different model.
Yep.
And so again, that nuance is really lost. And I think unless you're setting up programs to look at the skill of entrepreneurship, not the business,
right,
then it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Right. I that is very, very true. All right. So I have so many more questions for you and I could talk about this forever, but we have to wrap up. Speaking of which, you have some business that you need to do today. So I want to use our last few minutes to just talk about you going to Trinidad and how Black Travel Box makes you such an amazing ambassador for cultures.
Yes.
So tell us, we were talking about this stuff. We were talking about pitching and incubators and things like that. And, and travel. That's how we got into it. I said, we're going to take this trip. And you're like, man, it was close to your birthday. I would love to take a trip. I'm like, you know what? We have a new ambassador program. And that's how we got into it. So tell me, had you ever been to a carnival before?
No, it was on my bucket list. So when you were like, hey, we have this ambassadorship and we have this program. And oh, by the way, we have this trip. It's kind of last minute, but if you're interested, I was like, Hell yeah. I have always wanted to go to Carnival. Now, mind you, I was a little bit chicken because, you know, I didn't want to wear floss. I mean, I wanted to wear floss, but I didn't really want to wear floss. Like, I wanted to wear floss in my head, like shiny floss and feathers. But then I was like, so that was a little bit of a trepidatious point for me. But I was really, really excited because I had never been to Trinidad. I hadn't been to that area of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool.
It's more beautiful than people realize. You know, Trinidad is an industrial island. It's the most wealthy in the Caribbean because of that. And our viewers know I'm Trinidadian, Costa Rican. So I've been to Trinidad many times. I've lived there many times. My first accent was Trinidadian. But it's interesting because this is the first time I saw its true beauty.
Yeah.
You know, people, I hear it all the time. Oh, we just bought a place in Costa Rica. Oh, I love Costa Rica, Costa Rica, Costa Rica. And Costa Rica is beautiful. But this time in Trinidad, and maybe it's because I didn't go with family. I didn't go as a family trip and do all the family things. I mean, we saw family, but I specifically went to be in Trinidad and experience Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly had no idea it was as beautiful as it is. That's probably, for me, I don't know what you think. For me, it was one of the most beautiful islands that I have been to. I definitely think it's more beautiful than Costa Rica. It's a different vibe than Costa Rica.
Okay.
So it's a different kind of beauty, but that lush, you know, you could see on a clear day all the way to Grenada, very airy and grounded beach kind of beauty. So what were your thoughts? You wanted to go to Carnival.
Yes.
You got to go there. What were your thoughts?
So there's a few things. One, it absolutely is a gorgeous island. And it's one of those things that I've been to a number of islands and I'm like, okay, so number one, prepare yourself for island time. But it actually wasn't like that. I really didn't find that. It was a lot more bustling than I had anticipated. And I think part of that was because it's Trinidad Carnival. But it was really like a very comfortable space to be in. One of the things that I talk about a lot when I've talked about Carnival is just, there's a little bit of the girl who's afraid to be out in like Freaknik. Like, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have to like be pushing people off and like if there's going to be essentially unwanted attention. Oh, yes, right. Yes. And this isn't even talking about floss. Right. I mean, I've been in clubs in Chicago where people have put their hands in my back pocket of my jeans. And I'm like, I'm going to keep it now. Clutch. But I did do that. So I was a little afraid of that. And I didn't see any of that. I was so put at ease immediately. I felt like there was a lot of respect for women in that space. Yeah. And even when we were doing, Juve and Dirty Moss and we're out in the streets and it's like 3 a.m. and we're shaking tail. It was the most respectable tail shaking I've ever done in my life. I mean, that's the best way I could put it. Yes.
It's really interesting. There's when you look at it, like our videographer in Trinidad put together a sizzle reel. And I was like, a little less Juve, which is, Juve is like the beginning of Mas and it's crazy. And you throw in, paint and people are doing all kinds of things. Lots of bumping and grinding. Mm-hmm.
But I was welcome.
Like, yes, welcome. And a little less Juve and a little more Carnival, which is a little less of the bump and grind, but still some. Mm-hmm. But I think it's because to a viewer, they don't realize how comfortable people are made in that space. Mm-hmm. I mean, body positivity is a thing. It doesn't matter size, shape, color, height. Nothing. Everyone is welcome and accepted. And Trinidad is like that as a whole. People don't realize Trinidad is made up of Arab, East Indian, African, Chinese. I mean, so many different cultures.
Super diverse.
That brings it all together. But then again, also, it means a different thing. This dancing you're seeing is not necessarily a sexual thing. Right? Yeah. It's an expression of joy. It is a way to celebrate with other people. And a lot of fun. Yeah. So you don't have to feel like you're going to get attacked at any moment.
Well, not only
shields up.
Well, not only that though, like I've been to parties in the States and I wouldn't say too much in other countries, but definitely in the States, and maybe it's just a US thing, where you have some of the same behaviors, but you have a lack of interpersonal respect.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's what it really is.
Yes.
And so like there, you got the guy who is like written on his beautiful body, you know,
exactly
wind here. And he has the
have
arrow.
this footage, so we will have to.
He has the arrow and you're like, that is wild.
Wind here, yes.
And then you go dance with him and he does not put his hands on you. Like, and I can't explain or express when we live in a world that I was literally on Reddit, and I'm on Reddit for, you know, my city, Denver. And there's like a sub thread where people are talking about all the places they've been roofied in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
You know? And so understanding that there is a culture of a lack of respect in a lot of these spaces,
Right.
I really was a little nervous. And then you could hug up on people and if you pull back from someone, there's no anger.
Yep.
There's no names.
There's no name calling. Yep.
There's nothing. There's no, oh no, you got to come back.
Yes.
It's like, you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, you sure?
Because this was good.
This is it. Seriously. But even, you know, this is the international sign for I'm not threatening.
Yeah.
Right? And people just naturally go, you sure? You sure? You know what? You sure? And then you go, well, okay, I'll come back. But that is the place that you can be sort of coquettish and like, you know, okay, well, let me just see. Because nobody's going to force you past the level that you don't enjoy. And even with people running in the streets with their beautiful floss, shaking the but there was no, like, nobody came and touched anybody in ways that people did not invite clearly. And it was just really, really comfortable and really beautiful. And to your point, a celebration of joy and like an artistic expression of joy that just happens to look like getting it in. It is simulating sex. Let's be honest. It is, but that's just the style of dance and the style of revelry. But there's no, it's sort of divorced from that. There's no, it's just like, this is how we dance.
And I think that's the hard thing to understand, that yes, it does look like sexual simulations.
Yes.
However, the whole background to it is completely, it's like, it's devoid of, oh, we're not really trying to hook up.
It's
right?
not, you're making it hard for me. It's not that at all. It's not that at all.
I'm so glad that you saw that, because that's the hardest thing I think to explain about Trinidad Carnival. I think people don't realize there's a cultural aspect to it, and the respect is there. And that goes, when I say body positivity, that's all the time. Like, everyone is welcome and accepted and embraced in a way that is hard, I think, for outsiders to understand, because it's not necessarily that way in a lot of places.
I would argue it's not necessarily body positivity, it's body neutrality. It's not even a thing.
That's a
right?
better, yes.
Because body positivity is like, we're fighting a thing that we have to fight, and we have to be like, you look good no matter what. Like, nobody even has the no matter what. They're just like, you look good.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I saw you put the feathers on it. I know you glued that together yourself. And I support that. Like, right? You know, it's just really supportive and really, you know, it feels like community, even though you don't know everybody.
Excellent. Well, we're going to wrap it up so you can get to your next wonderful business thing that you are doing. Like I said, I have so many more questions, but it's always a pleasure. I love hearing your journey. I love what you're doing. And I wish the best for Black Travel Box, and for hopefully we get to do lots more together. All right.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
If this episode resonated with you, then you're not the only one. There are over 1 billion people in the world who live between and among cultures. And Cultures is here, building a home for all of us. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a single conversation. And if you want to go deeper, join our email community. The link also is in the description. Every week, we'll send you stories, tools, and perspectives that help you connect with your unique cultural identity.